Today on Switch to Linux, we want to have a brief look at Solus, talk about the current state and their direction moving forward. Then we will have a brief look at Solus 4.7 Budgie, the latest release. Welcome back to Switch to Linux. And today we do want to talk about one of the independent Linux distributions called Solus. We're going to talk a little bit about their transitions, where they're currently at, where their direction is going to be going, and talk a little bit about their current setup and their latest release 4.7, which was released about a month ago near the end of July. If you like this type of content, subscribe to the channel, leave us a like and a comment down below. And today we do want to go ahead and chat about this one. And Solus itself is an independent Linux distribution. So that means that it's not based on Debian or Arch as Ubuntu are, as Endeavor is. Linux Mint is based on something else. So it is its own independent distribution, and it makes a lot of its own choices. However, it's also one that, as we're seeing in a lot of distributions, kind of being driven in some direction by some of the desktop environments. Now, Solus is the one that has created the Budgie desktop environment. So if you're looking for the best or the purest form of Budgie, you might have a look at Solus, which is where that comes from. However, they have a GNOME, a Plasma, and an XFCE edition as well. And the choices that those desktops make, which are a lot of them and do direct a lot of Linux distributions, are causing some of their movements, which is a general trend inside of the world itself. Of course, I'm talking about the W word, Wayland. Now, what is going on here? This latest release, which is 4.7, there is really nothing special in this distribution that has not been released earlier in the 4 branch. We have with this one, we have a new image, we have updated software, Firefox going to 134. Actually, 135 is out, although I think that came out a week or two after this. The last month has been a little bit of a blur for me there. We have LibreOffice 24.842. We have Thunderbird 128.6.0. And as they mention here, talking about their audio and video playback, their GNOME and Budgie editions use Rhythmbox. They have celluloid for video on those. XFCE ships with Parole, and Plasma ships with ELSA for audio playback and Hirana for video playback. So it is borrowing from some of the core desktop environment resources in order to pick the best players and default software. Of course, Budgie is highly dependent on GNOME going forward. Now, they do have a mention here, try a new software center. So Solus has had one of the better software centers, in my opinion. It's nice and light and has all their software in it. Now, one of the challenges Solus had when it first came out is being an independent Linux distribution. It had to curate a lot of the software, and it had a early boost in that from the fact that Flatpaks and Snaps came out fairly early in the development. And at the time, I had praised that it had both Snaps and Flatpaks into the system, and that allowed you to install a lot of extra software. They have since, in the latest versions, gotten rid of Snap. They just said it was too difficult to maintain. Of course, Snap itself, the Snap packages, are a little bit of controversy inside of the Linux world. You either love them or you hate them. You see, about half of the world comes to Linux because it's a really great development engine, and these are the people that generally like Snaps because they're easy to maintain, they're containerized, it's simple to upgrade them, downgrade them, hold them back, things like that without worrying about system dependencies, which are some of the issues that Flatpak also solves. The problem with it is that about the other half of the Linux community is here because we're generally mad at big tech and we do not like the invasive and crazy decisions oftentimes they make. And for those people, they're not into Snaps because Snap is at its very core proprietary in its distribution, and it's central in its distribution, which means that there is only one place to get them into the system, and you can't see what it's doing under the hood. And that is disconcerting for some people out there in the world. And so the challenge is that snaps were a lot more difficult to maintain. Flatpak has a very similar model, but is open on every level. And so they have ditched snap and moved only with Flatpak moving forward. Now, one of the other changes coming is a change in the GTK frameworks. And this is what is causing an issue with their old software center, Solus SC. And so what they're doing is they are actually getting rid of their really nice software center and moving into a system saying, hey, we're just going to use the new software stores, which is literally just GNOME software, which in my opinion is one of the worst, and Discover, which at least is getting better. But the advantage of using these is somebody else has dedicating the resources to hold them. They both support Flatpak out of the box with simple toggle switches and simple repositories, which means it makes installing really good software a simple task moving forward. And so that is really what they're doing. And so while this version 4.7 still has the software, the Solus SC Solus Software Center, they are telling people that you should install GNOME software or Discover, depending if you are on XFCE, GNOME, and Budgie should use GNOME software, and Plasma users should go to Discover, which I'm not a huge fan of that change, but I completely understand why they make that decision. Now, there is a downside to this in the Software Center in Solus, and that is that the Solus Software Center actually has a lot of third-party applications that are not available as Flatpaks and otherwise not available in the repo. And when I looked for some of those pieces of software in the GNOME Software Center in my test build here, you can't find them. So we might have to have a separate repository if you want to keep having some of those third-party softwares. We'll have a brief look at that. They do have better support for NVIDIA cards, and they've changed the kernel up to 6.12 with an LTS of 6.6. So that is really what their major changes are. Now, as far as the Wayland push, I was looking for their detailed articles, and I remember reading one at one point in time, and I have searched for 2 days, and I can't find it. But effectively, they right now, Plasma and GNOME are running Wayland by default. Budgie still requires X, as they're having a problem with Wayland support. Go figure. And so right now you're running Budgie under X, and XFCE in 4.7 actually has an experimental Wayland. So if you go down to the XFCE, you'll see that it brings a very experimental support for Wayland. So this is a little disconcerting for me, because they really want the next version of Solus, which originally was going to be this year or maybe next year, but I thought it was this year, to be a Wayland only. They don't even have a Wayland experimental yet in Budgie. They just pushed that out to XFCE, and they also have had, I was looking into switching around the different kernels, and they actually have had issues in the past with the LTS kernel as well. So there are a few questions that we have going forward. Now, those are all old articles. I think they have gotten those resolved. But overall, we see that the state of Solus is in a stasis right now. The 4.7 doesn't bring anything to the table that wasn't already brought with 4.6 and 4.5, where we saw the change in the installer to the Calamaris installer, which was a good change. And a few other things. I think they did USR merge changes in that frame as well. But ultimately, the only thing you're going to see from Solus 4.7 is just an upgrade in the kernel and some of your main default packages, while they are working very rapidly behind the hood to make sure that the Wayland support is going to work. So we will go ahead and have a look at what this looks like. Let me boot this up over on boxes here. And so here we have our 4.7. This is our 6.2. This is our Linux kernel. And then we have alternative boot entries as well, which it looks like we don't have anything different there. So let's go ahead and boot this guy up. Let me full screen our system here. Here we land on our login manager here. So you can see that we have various options there, and we'll come over here and enter our super secret password. You'll see that there's no other options to change our window manager. Typically, that's where we would see the ability to change between X and Wayland, but we don't have any of that. Oh, look at that. Software updates are available. I just installed updates yesterday. What is this, Arch? All right, anyway, let's go ahead and have a brief look. So we're going to look at the Budgie control settings right now, and I have us already down there on About, so you can see what we have. We're running this in boxes. This would not work in VirtualBox for some reason, but so we are running this in boxes. You can see down here we are under X, and we have the Linux 6.12 current. So that is where we are at. Now, as far as how Budgie works, you might have noticed when we go and pull up the settings, you can see that there's two different settings. There's a desktop settings and the control center. Your Budgie control center is actually just your GNOME settings. As we said, this is highly dependent on GNOME, including utilizing the whole settings. So we're not going to go into anything inside of your software settings. That's the same thing as inside of the GNOME settings. Now, the Budgie desktop settings, this is actually where we have the basic style of our overall desktop. We have the desktop layouts. Do you want your desktop icons? Which icons do you want? Do you want single or double click policy set there? How big do you want your icon? And the number of virtual desktops you want. We can set our basic fonts over here. Now, the Raven is the menu over here. So the Raven menu is what brings us our notifications. We have widgets. If you're playing some form of audio, you're going to have an indicator of what's over there. If you have a microphone connected, it's going to be over here. And then there's some other settings in there and other widgets you can put in. And then you can see your notifications over here. So I do actually like their Raven bar pretty good. And you can hit your add widgets over here if you want to add something else to it. Then we have our windows over here as well. So this is attach modal button dialogues. Do you want your button layout? You want those on your right or on your left? So depending on how you like those. So it's just a number of different settings. Now I will say this, if you are installing Budgie on a desktop or on a Linux distribution that is not Solus, one of the things most of them don't do right is they generally don't ship themes super well. This one does. So what you find on Budgie on a lot of other distros is that this widget thing will be blank, and if you pull this box down, you'll be stuck on high contrast and you can't get rid of it. And it's super bright and super annoying. So you would have to install some other type of desktop theme to get this running. You can see that they here at Solus do give us a lot of options inside of this. I like, if you have installed this, like how do you get rid of that? I just install the Arc Dark theme and that tends to work. Here's your icons. We have our cursors. Here's our notification position where you want those to be. And then you can do dark theme and light theme as well. So you can choose which color you want. And then there's some built-in, I think, is going to give us some adjustments. Will the theme override the desktop component settings or not? And then you can set your animations. You can also have your panel. Of course, the default panel here is laid out like this. If you want, you can adjust your panel. You can set your width of your panel so you can see your bottom. You can set it at your top. You can set it at the left or at the right. So you can do anything you want with the panel. You can set the basic size. You can do, how much transparency do you want? And then you can do your shadowing, your regions, and then you can turn on a dock mode, which is going to turn it kind of into like a Mac if you want the Mac mode. So you do have a lot of good options inside of here. Your auto start is any applications that you like to start up. Once you start your computer, you can go ahead and set all of those. So there's your Budgie desktop settings. Overall, this is one of my favorite desktop environments. We have desktop icons, which is good. It has a clean, modern interface. And overall, the desktop environment is very comfortable to work with. It seems very modern, but it doesn't have an overwhelming amount of settings. As far as the distro itself, so what sets Solus apart as a distribution? Well, you can see here, just looking at the list of applications, you can see that it does give you effectively a very full list of applications. We have a whole Office suite set up. We have audio, we have video, we have a lot of system tools. We can do disk usage management. You can do a lot of different options. Now, the only thing that I installed into the system that was not already pre-installed is I did install the GNOME Software Center. And this is really where I wanted to show you some of the differences here. So the software, I believe, is the Solus one. Nope, that's GNOME Software Center. Okay, Software Center is the SC Center. This is the Solus Center here. And so let me look at these two compared to each other. And this is the one, the Software Center here is going to be going away soon. Which I like. It is simple. It is easy to work with. You can find what you're looking for. We do have a search function over here if you're looking for something. So if you do like Audacity and you want to search for that, you can see that we have Audacity. And oh, that just pulls up the web page. I'm sorry. I was looking for where it was sourced from. I'll just go ahead and close that out. But you can see, you can install it here. You can see where it's sourced from there. Let's see, developers Muse group. Yeah, it's not telling us where it's sourced from. That's what our question was. Is this a Flatpak? Is this a repository? Things like that. So that is one of the issues with it. Now, the other one here is I'd mentioned the third-party software. Now, a lot of these third-party software are already available. So if you look, Google Chrome, for example, the GNOME Software Center does have a few options that are better. So one of those is software repositories. You can pull down the software repositories. You can see which software repositories are there. I don't have this inside of the Solus Software Center. So if I like, ooh, it's checking Chrome servers, then, and I don't like that, I would have to go and dig into the system to figure out where to remove that from. Whereas over here, you can see, oh, I can do Flatpak. Here's the Eopkg. We'll get to Eopkg in a moment. That's the package manager Solus uses. And then here's Linux vendor, and then we can do testing as well. So you can see the various different repositories that it already has inside of it. We can also set up manual or automatic updates over here. We can show only free software. We can show only verified developers. So it is working on a lot of features like that. Let's go for Audacity now over here, since that's what we searched for over here. And you can see here that we have Audacity, but we also have the ability to source it. So this one here might be pulling from FlatHub. Oh, here you go. You can see here that it took a moment, but you can see I can source Audacity here from either Solus or from FlatHub. I don't know where the source of this Audacity is coming from. It doesn't actually tell us. Presumably it is from the Solus repository, because one of their problems with the Software Center is they never got Flatpak integration to properly work. But they do have the third-party integration working. And the thing about this is that some applications like Google Chrome is available as Flatpaks. So if you have a look at these and you look at it, you can see this is coming from FlatHub. And if we give it a moment, let's see if it finds anything else there or not. It may not. These ones here are coming from adding extra repositories. Now, one application, and you can look through the whole list. I didn't look through absolutely everything here. But one of these applications that I was looking at is, let's look at Money Dance. So Money Dance is not available where it is available on the Solus Software Center. And this is something that I don't know if they're going to figure out how to fix. They might just say, how many people are really using these third-party softwares that are not already in Flatpak? Let's see if Plex is in Flatpak. Okay, so we have Plex. So again, Plex is in Flatpak. So most of these are going to be available in Flatpaks. I'm aware of that. Let's see if Android Studio is. Yeah, Android Studio is as well. So really looking at, it looks like just a few of those aren't. So not a major deal. Again, I find that the GNOME Software Center is a little buggy, but it is functional everywhere. That's why I tend to install it if I need one. It works. that's, you know, that's what can I say more about it. But the software center is going away, even though that is a good one. Now, Solus uses, as I said, Eopkg as its software package manager here. So if we go in here, you're not going to use apt or pacman or dnf to do anything. At least I don't think any of those will do anything. Let's do sudo dnf update. And enter a super secret password. No, I have no idea what you're talking about, dude. Let's do sudo apt update. Oh, no idea what you're talking about, dude. Sudo pacman syu. Oh, no, I have no idea what you're talking about, because those are the most common package managers you find on Linux. Solus uses Eopkg. So sudo Eopkg. And this is what you're going to do if you're going to install something. So if I want to install some application, let's go with FileZilla. That's an application I can think of off the top of my head. So here, do you want to install FileZilla and all this? That's how easy it is to use. It's really as easy to use as pretty much apt. You know, it follows a lot of the same things. Install, it's remove. The only thing that it doesn't do that apt does, I can do a sudo apt update, which will just update the repository mirrors, and I would have to do sudo apt upgrade in order to install the software. In Eopkg, we don't have the update as the option. I believe you'd have to do the upgrade. We'll verify that when this is done. All right, so that is done. So should find FileZilla in there, which I do. That's excellent. There you go. So let's do sudo Eopkg update, and that tells you it doesn't recognize the command. So to update the system, you just do sudo Eopkg upgrade, and then this is going to look for what's there, and then it'll read the package and then figure out what it's going to do from there. So it starts, I think, by grabbing. Is this actually downloading? Yes, looks like it is downloading. So you can see that's how you're going to be running your system there. I thought it was going to give me a, do you want to actually do this or not? But nope, it's just doing it itself. Presumably because I already answered a yes and entered my sudo password up above. So you can see now we are updated in our system. So that's how Eopkg works. It's very simple to use. I believe it's remove something, sudo Eopkg remove FileZilla. I think that's what the command is. Yep, there you go. So no confirmations. That's a little frightening. If I didn't actually want to uninstall it, then there you go. But let's see. So FileZilla is now gone. So there is a little bit about how Eopkg works, what sets Solus apart. Now, one of the other challenges is that Solus does not have quite as many software packages in its repository as many other distributions do, because it is a small group and it is independent. But that is actually why they lead on Flatpak as they are doing things. So there is a really brief rundown on Solus, how it works, a little bit about the package and the whole distribution and where its direction is. What we're looking forward to in the next probably the end of this year, early next year, we might start seeing that experimental Wayland coming in, and they are going to be moving towards a shift, progressing things towards Wayland only eventually, as that is the direction we are seeing at least GNOME going, if not possibly Plasma down the line as well. So there is our brief look at Solus. Let me know your thoughts about this and their direction in the comments down below.